Well, first of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that.
Now, Terrell, run the road again!
Hey guys! Hey! I'm having a press conference, okay?
Their fat little girlfriends have some obvious advantages. For one thing, their fat little girlfriends are telling them what they want to hear.
It's Division I football! Here, murals!
All right. And welcome back to this week's episode, or this week's preview episode of the Hoppy Huddle podcast. And, something really crucial and important happened yesterday, and that was the announcement of the college football playoff rankings. Because nothing else happened yesterday. Not a single thing. But yeah, they dropped the college football playoff rankings, so we're going to get into that. We're also going to look at this week's games, give you some picks, and we'll kind of go from there. I think I probably want to start out with the college football playoff rankings and kind of get your reaction to that. So bear with me for a second. We're working on upgrading the production quality of the show, because we're trying to make it better for all our things. So we got this graphic. Straight.
Get the Hoppy Huddle thing down so you can see the rest of the...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wait a second. We got, boom. Look at that.
Oh, you got
college football playoff reactions. We got a thing right down there. Look at that. That's pretty cool, huh? So this is graphic from On3. I want to give them credit because they came up with this great graphic. But, so first things jumps out is obviously Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Georgia 3, Miami 4. You could maybe argue Miami should be above one of those two, maybe not, depending on your opinion. I think both of them have better wins than Miami, so it makes sense, sort of. And then you end up with Texas 5, Penn State 6, Tennessee 7, and Indiana at 8. And here's the real controversy, in my opinion. Why in the heck is Indiana behind Tennessee, first of all, but really behind Penn State? Because if you look at Penn State's schedule, Indiana's schedule, Indiana, besides the Ohio State game, which Penn State lost, Indiana and Penn State, the rest of their schedules are almost identical. And Indiana has beaten teams of a similar caliber by much greater scores. And so I don't really understand why Penn State, with the loss, and their best win is no better than Indiana's best win, is 2 spots above Indiana. If you flip the brand of those jerseys, I guarantee you Indiana's top 5.
All right. I've been holding this in the show. I've been very quiet so far. Now I'm ready to go on a rant, people. All right. I just want you to sit back.
Is it rant time?
Big time rant time.
All right. I'll buckle up.
If you take that Indiana brand off and you put another logo on, they should be in the top 3 or 4. And here's why. Go back to last year. Go compare, and we're going to give all the credit in the world. Tom Fernelli, Cover 3, did this morning on the podcast, or last night's podcast. Go look at Michigan last year. The same resume as Indiana, with the same schedule, basically. They were number 3 in the first rankings. Indiana, just because they don't have the block M on their letters, they are number 8. There is no way in this world they should be behind a 1-loss Penn State. This is insanity, folks. I don't know what this playoff committee is even thinking. How can they do this to Indiana? And you know what? What they're setting up is they're going to screw Indiana out of a playoff spot, is what they're going to do. Because Indiana's going to go play at Ohio State. And let's assume, first of all, their game against Ohio State is going to be on the road. Penn State had them at home. Let's assume Indiana loses. They're going to put them back in, 10, 11, 12? And guess who's not going to make the playoff because of the automatic? They are setting this up. I'm telling you, you just wait and see. An 11-1 Indiana team is going to lose. It's going to lose out on a playoff spot to a 2 or 3 loss.
You know who's going to get it? You know who's going to get it?
Oh, some stupid.
It's going to be 1-loss Notre Dame.
Well, yeah, don't even get me started. We're going to get to Notre Dame soon enough.
They're going to both be 11-1, and Notre Dame will have lost to NIU, and Indiana will have lost to Ohio State. And Notre Dame will get in because they'll say eye test, or they'll say talent, or they'll say whatever, and it'll be complete scam.
If you were worried about any integrity last night in any kind of polling, this was the poll you should have been worried about. Okay.
Yeah. There are a lot of polls that are pretty inaccurate out there, and this is the most inaccurate of all of them. All right. Not even Nate Silver was this bad.
No. I mean, the brand biasness between Alabama, Penn State, and Notre Dame. BYU got screwed. Indiana got screwed. SMU got screwed. All because they're not traditional powers. We'll get to SMU in a second, and we'll get to Notre Dame and BYU in a minute. What they're doing in Indiana is terrible. I mean, they have no business being behind Tennessee or Penn State. They should be at least 6, if not 5. I don't even know. When I saw this last night, I about lost my mind. I just could not handle it.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. Not to mention, can we talk about how in the heck SMU is behind Alabama? And
go look at the resume. Look at the blind test.
Honestly, Boise State too. But you can make the argument because Alabama has played a tougher schedule than Boise State. You could make that argument, right? But there is no excuse for SMU beat Pitt, another ranked team. Like SMU beat Louisville, another ranked team. And who's Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, who, by the way, isn't ranked. Don't understand that. And it's just it's ridiculous.
Hey, let's compare a blind test here. Okay, let's compare 2 teams here. Team 1 is 7-1, strength of schedule is 49, and they have 0 top 25 wins. Team number 2 is 8-1, strength of schedule is 60, a little less, but they've got 2 top 25 wins. Who is Team 1?
I have no idea. Who?
Texas. Then number 5.
Yeah.
Team number 2, SMU at 13. I mean, there's no excuse for leaving SMU out of the top 12. If you're going to put Texas at 5, SMU better be up there at 7, 8, or 9. Believable.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love 24/7 and I love On3, but this is the effect of recruiting rankings on college football as a society.
This is the effect of recruiting rankings, of the preseason bias, and you're right. Their SMU's only losses to a BYU.
BYU at 9 is also ridiculous, by the way. Again, BYU with a better schedule than Penn State as well.
Yeah. Go look at the strength of records. BYU is 4.
BYU has a little less of an argument because they weren't beating all these teams by like 50 points like Indiana was.
Yeah.
But Indiana's performance is legitimately top 5. I think BYU, you can make the argument, but they did have like 4 one-score wins. So it's a little bit less, but BYU and Texas are like comparable resumes in my opinion.
Yeah, this whole thing reeks of brand bias. It's set up to get Alabama and Notre Dame into the playoff, and if Alabama,
of course it is.
And if Alabama, and by the way, don't even get me started on the most fraudulent team, Missouri, getting in at 24, only to justify the SEC ratings of LSU, Texas A&M, and Bama. I mean, this whole thing, I'm sorry to be fired up. I was fired up all day about this. Yeah, forget the election. I was fired up about this.
Okay, Iowa State got their loss, right? Houston, not a good loss. You don't want to lose to them. But they're behind LSU, who lost to USC, and their 1 loss and LSU's 2. Are you really telling me that right now that Houston loss is that much worse than the loss to USC? Like, USC's got, 4 losses, 5 losses?
The SEC, Nacho Man 57 says, what do you think about A&M's ranking 14? Yeah, they're riding it all on their victory over LSU, which, again, the SEC is living off this brand bias. None of them have any good victories. Georgia's the only one that I think has a decent victory, and that's over Texas.
Yeah. Georgia is the only SEC team with a legitimate top 5 resume.
Exactly. The rest of them, I mean, Miami deserves to be up there. They're undefeated. They've proven it. Indiana has beaten teams solidly by everybody by 14 points. Texas, Indiana should be up there. BYU should be up there. Then you can start arguing some of the 1-loss teams. Texas,
and Tennessee does have that win over Alabama, but like that's only inflated because Alabama's ranking is very high, which is only inflated because Missouri and whoever else. It's like it's this cascading strategy of sucky rankings.
And
that just
Alabama
boost
should have
the SEC.
Alabama was lucky to beat South Carolina. So I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So why is Alabama that much higher than A&M? The South Carolina result was worse for it's just
this
ridiculous.
thing is setting it. They're setting it up for a 9-3 SEC team to slide into to get that number 11 playoff spot. I'm telling you,
It's a scam.
7-1 or a 1 loss or 2 loss Big 12 or ACC team, and I'm going to be mad. And this is what's ruining college football. These, particularly the SEC, and I love SEC football.
It's the Big Ten too.
Yeah, but it's not as bad.
More in the Big Ten, it's like the top 3 in the Big Ten.
Yeah. But there's no arguments to me on Oregon or Ohio State. I mean, they belong where they're going to be. You could argue where Ohio State and Georgia should be 2 or 3, whatever. I mean, I think
But what I'm saying is if Vanderbilt put up the numbers that Indiana did, they'd be top 5.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Thing, SMU is going to be the one left holding the bag. Notre Dame's getting a pass. Notre Dame does not have a resume at all. They're hanging their hat literally on that Texas A&M win. That's it. It wasn't that impressive, and they don't play anybody else. I mean, you're going to argue. I guess they still have Army left.
It is partially brand bias, but SEC is also a brand, and so I think that like the SEC, it's brand bias in everything else besides the SEC, and in the SEC, it's just the conference bias.
Yeah. Notre Dame lost not only to a MAC team, they lost to a terrible MAC,
to a bad MAC team.
This wasn't. You want to talk about bad law? I mean. Who are we giving? We're giving Penn State credit for losing to Ohio State. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Give me a break.
Yeah. Okay. Notre Dame versus Iowa State. 10-17, right? Iowa State lost to Houston, which is a not great Big 12 team, and they're 17th. Fair, okay, I guess, sort of. They're a bad team, bad loss. Notre Dame's 10th. What? Yeah. Just because you beat A&M, which like at the time looked really good, but A&M's now got blown out by South Carolina as 2 losses. So like,
just tell us you want the big names in there, and tell us you don't care about Indiana, Brigham Young, and SMU. That's fine. Be honest. Just be honest with us. Tell us you don't care about it. That you're just doing this for the big names to get ratings. Okay, I can live with that. But don't tell me that these are somehow these because you clearly are not looking. I'm giving you
exactly. Yeah.
Anybody who looks at those stats, if you just said that to me, you'd go, well, clearly Team 2 should be over Team 1. That's Texas over SMU. You can't explain the difference.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I kind of like counterpoint, sort of get it some of this because a lot of this will be settled on the field. Like we end up with a scenario where we don't have all these conflicts. But if Indiana could look, what if Indiana doesn't win out? Like what if BYU loses twice? Is like,
agreed. And you're right. We're
BYU's been on the knife's edge. So we may not have some of these issues towards the end of the season. Like if SMU wins the ACC title, they're in. 1 loss, Miami's also in. Like there's scenarios where this isn't as big of a problem, but just the way it's currently set up now is really stupid.
It is, and you're right. Maybe this all gets settled out. But I'm telling you, if they have to break a certain way, it's not breaking the way towards teams that deserve it. It's breaking to, is your brand bigger?
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. So
it's incredibly dumb.
And we're not going to argue about this every week. I think the first week we're going to rant and rave. I just don't imagine we're going to rant and rave a whole lot until the end because I think it's till we get to conference, the last weekend of conference championships, we're really not going to know everything.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a ton of time reacting to like the little shifts every week in this, other than like the occasional, this was incredibly stupid. Because like the committee has also shown that they don't follow any of the previous methodology when they actually decide the real playoff. They just kind of like they've done radical changes in the last week where there's been no change to the results just because they want that's when they actually do the playoff thing and they actually think about their rankings. Right now, they literally just copied. First of all, they copied the AP poll. There's like 2 differences in the entire thing. Like,
yeah. No, you're right.
Honestly, I don't put much stock in this right now, and it kind of ticks me off now. But generally in the 4-team playoff, the committee has, I've kind of agreed with most years of what the committee is for the top 4. I've whined a lot about the other ratings, but
Really?
usually
You like 2014?
not 2014. That's why I said usually, but that was the first year. And yes, obviously Baylor was screwed that year. Like, honestly, the last 5 years of the 4-team playoff, the top 4 teams were correct except for Florida State. Generally, I'd say 5 out of 6 years, they've gotten the top 4 right. So I kind of think they'll probably get the 12-team playoff right. It's just the rest of the ratings that are really stupid.
Well, we'll wait and see, and we'll have an interesting discussion when they screw one of these other teams out of a playoff spot. So 9-3, LSU can get in the tournament.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if Brian Kelly can keep his team from losing.
Anyway, all right. Well, there you go. I feel like I've vented now, but I feel better.
Yeah, there's our playoff reactions and other.
I like your
such
great
nonsense.
graphics, Jake. It's about time you spent some time on this program. I mean,
Yeah,
I just for the intern to come in and do something, but they're not doing anything.
Yeah, no, the free labor is not working out. Let's turn to the week ahead, and what game do you want to go to? I think we got to touch on the big game first, obviously, right? Georgia, Ole Miss.
Is that the biggest game you want to? Well, touch on Georgia, Ole Miss.
I think that's the biggest game.
Really?
Isn't it?
No. Are you not looking at the night game? The playoff elimination game?
Wait.
Bama,
Hold
LSU.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Isn't Georgia, Ole Miss a bigger?
I think Alabama, LSU is a play-in game for this tournament.
Yeah, see, this is why I hate playoff. Never mind. I'm not going to.
Reed, you got to give me some UVA basketball updates while we're talking. I can't keep looking at my phone.
That's why I hate playoff expansion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, we can start out with Bama, LSU.
Okay.
Bama's favored -3. Over/under is 58.5. Yeah, I know Bama, LSU is a big rivalry, but I'm kind of just more interested in Ole Miss, Georgia, because we've seen the. Anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But I know. I guess whatever. So honestly, I honestly have no idea what to make of this game. It's kind of a crapshoot because both teams have good offenses and extremely suspect defenses. Although Bama's defense has improved over the last couple of weeks. Garrett Nussmeier cannot throw interceptions like he did. Was it last week? Right?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago against Texas A&M.
2 weeks, yeah, 2 weeks ago. He cannot throw interceptions like that against Alabama because you can't give Kalen DeBoer extra possessions to cook up stuff with Milroe. I'm not sure. I don't know. Can Ryan Williams and Jalen Milroe just carry Alabama to another victory? Because I feel like that's just essentially what it comes down to. It's like for Alabama's team, if those two carry you to victory, then you win. If they don't, then you don't win. That's basically their team. Yeah, Bama's secondary does suck, and Nussmeier could cook them. You're correct. And Bama's secondary has been very bad all year, so that's not crazy. But there's also the aspect of LSU just refuses to run the ball for some reason or can't run the ball.
I don't think they can.
So Bama may literally be able to rush 3 and drop everyone in coverage because there's honestly no fear of LSU running the ball. They don't even try. They can't really run the ball, and they don't even try. So
do you think this is going to be a high-scoring game?
Yeah. I very much think it's a high-scoring game. 58.5 is the over/under, right?
I think it's going to go over.
I could easily see that going over. I'm not betting that, but I could easily see that going over.
Yeah, then
it'll be interesting. One of these coaches will be a first-time winner in this, or did Brian Kelly beat Saban? No.
No.
I don't think Kelly ever beat Saban. Right.
Oh, yeah, he did 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. Right. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. It is a playoff elimination game. You are right. I think, hopefully it's a playoff elimination game, Well,
let's hope so. I think Bama, I don't think either team can really afford to lose. I really don't think so. And I agree with you. I think it's LSU can't run the ball for some reason or shown an unwillingness to do it. I don't think LSU secondary is going to put up a fight. I mean, they showed against Texas A&M. They really can't do much of anything. To me, this game really revolves around can is Jalen Milroe going to be accurate enough? And honestly, you look back at this series, these teams play each other pretty close. With the exception of the big blowout in 2020, these games have been close the last few years.
Yeah.
They just always, these guys, there's never a big separation here. And if that's the case, I think Brian Kelly, if you look at his record, his teams, and you look at him, he's not very good on the road against ranked teams. But his teams, this LSU team under Brian Kelly, has been very good at home in Death Valley at night. And I think I'm going to go with that again. I think they beat LSU earlier this year only because that game was at night in Death Valley. I think if they played on neutral field again, I would take Ole Miss. I think that's the difference in the game here. I'm actually going to take LSU, and I think it's I get a couple of points. I get 2.5 points according to FanDuel. Give me LSU and those 2.5 points. I think LSU may win this one outright.
You think? Yeah, honestly, it's kind of a coin toss. I think this may be who has the ball
It's a coin toss
kind of game.
Yeah.
Because both defenses are not good. Both offenses are, get high yards and like to throw the ball and can be pretty explosive. So I have no idea who wins. I lean Alabama just because DeBoer is a better in-game coach than Brian Kelly, but that's kind of the only real edge I think there is. But I honestly have no prediction for this game really. Lean Alabama, but
but I do think the loser, I think, is eliminated. It's going to be hard to look with the teams ahead of them and think of 3-loss SEC teams going to get a spot, because I think there's going to be too many other teams. Now, we don't know, but I think my gut is that this is probably an elimination game, particularly probably for Bama more than LSU.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I mean, there's a chance one of these teams could sneak in as a 3-loss, but who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. Well, let's talk about the other SEC matchup, which you thought was the best of the day.
I think this is a better matchup, okay? The other one will be exciting, lots of points scored, but I kind of think both of those teams are pretty mediocre. I think this is a matchup of two teams that have much higher ceilings than either LSU or Alabama. I think Georgia's defense is the best in the country, probably when it's at its highest. When it's clicked, when the switch is flipped, they may be the best unit in the country. But when it's not, they can be pretty porous, and they've given up a lot of points to some pretty not fantastic offenses. So same thing with Ole Miss's offense. When Ole Miss's offense is clicking, they pour it on. They destroy teams and score. They scored 60 against Arkansas last week, who held Tennessee to under 20, right? Under 30 at least. So the matchup to watch clearly is just when Ole Miss's offense versus Georgia's defense, because that's going to determine the game. And Ole Miss's defense, they got Walter Nolan up front. Was he kind of banged up? Is he healthy? I've heard that he's a little banged up, but I think he's definitely playing. Ole Miss's defense is not horrible, and Georgia's offense is also not the worst. But Georgia has offensive issues with Carson Beck because he's not a good quarterback, and they don't really have good receivers, and they can't seem to run the ball. So it's kind of a miracle that they have a decent offense at all, with not a great quarterback, not great wide receivers, and not a consistent run game. And they still have a mediocre offense. That may be credit to Bobo, right, as the coordinator for kind of duct tape and patchworking that offense together when it seems like they don't really have any superstars on offense. So that'll also be interesting if Georgia can't move the ball or Carson Beck throws 3 interceptions again. And if Ole Miss gets up 2 scores, I think they're kind of a momentum team like that. They may run away with it, but Ole Miss can score with anybody. The question though is when they ran up against Kentucky?
They lost to Kentucky
and LSU. When they ran up against Kentucky's defense that played a lot more physical, they really struggled. And they got into a shootout with LSU, ended up losing that one. But I don't really blame. That was kind of a toss-up, though. Not so many negatives to take away from that game other than the score. But if Georgia's defense can play really physical and they can flip that switch and turn on, I think Georgia wins this game easily. If not, I think Georgia can't score with Ole Miss if Ole Miss is moving the ball.
It's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Which one's going to show up on Georgia? I don't know which Georgia team shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Ole Miss at home, I feel like I know what we're going to get from them. I feel like we're going to get a pretty good effort. I feel like we're probably going to get their best game. They seem to be peaking at the right time. I just don't know is Carson Beck going to turn the ball over 3 times? If you could tell me how many receptions Carson Beck going to throw, I can probably tell you who's going to win this game. That Georgia team last week did not look good against Florida. And I know Florida's improving and getting better and playing hard, but that Georgia team's going to lose at Ole Miss. Now, my gut is just telling me that this is the kind of game that Kirby Smart doesn't lose. You know, you look at his record, I think he hasn't really lost. How many SEC games has he lost to other than to Bama? Almost none.
Isn't it like 2 since he's been there or something crazy? Or since his first year, I think.
I mean, and Lane Kiffin, look at his record in games against higher ranked teams, not very good. So, I mean, I'm taking Georgia minus 2.5, but it wouldn't surprise me if Ole Miss won. Everything points to, you know, even though I don't trust Georgia, I mean, the law of averages says Georgia's going to win this game. This is it for Ole Miss. You've got to win this game. Now, if Ole Miss wins this game, you know, they got Florida and Mississippi State. Now, Florida won't be easy, but I think they could beat Florida.
If Ole Miss wins this game, chaos, absolute chaos everywhere. What happens to anything?
They're probably not making the SEC championship, but they'll be 10-2, and they'll be sitting there They may be able to sneak right into
Ole Miss or Georgia.
Ole Miss wins this game. They're sitting.
Georgia will be at 2 losses. Ole Miss will be at 2 losses. Ole Miss will have the tiebreaker.
Yeah, but look at the rest of the conference standings. I don't think Ole Miss is going to, because Ole Miss has got 2. I'm not sure Ole Miss can get into the conference championship, but I think they could sneak into the back end of that playoff at 10-2.
Why couldn't they get into the conference championship?
I think Tennessee, Texas, and Texas A&M are ahead of them, aren't they? Where it just gets crazy. I don't even know.
There might be 4 teams with 2 losses.
Let's see here.
Tennessee only has 1 loss, right? Texas has 1 loss.
Yeah, but you got Georgia, A&M, Texas, Tennessee, Texas, LSU, all with 1 losses, and you got Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, and Alabama with 2 losses.
Well, LSU could get another one tonight. You never know there.
Well, that's true. And Georgia would be 2 losses, but you still got 3 other teams. Of course, Texas A&M play each other. So
and
Tennessee plays Georgia another week.
Yeah. So, there could be some real
there could just be absolute chaos in the
nutcase scenarios that could happen here.
But what I guess I'm saying is even if they don't make it to the conference championship, this is the game for Ole Miss because you can't lose this. You got to win. Even if you don't play for the conference championship. And even if you play for the conference championship, you don't want to have a 3-loss team. You're almost better. I think for some of these SEC teams, you're almost better to finish 10-2 and not play in the conference championship.
Yeah, honestly, and then you don't end up with a loss against a good team. Then you sneak in as like the 11 seed or whatever.
Because, or would you want to play in the SEC conference championship and get a 3rd loss?
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking.
It's a crapshoot, but
anyway, well, it'll be an interesting game. And that's, what time is that game on Saturday? That's our 3:30 game on ABC.
That's 3:30 game, yeah.
All righty. So, where do you want to go to next, Jake?
I want to go to Bloomington, Indiana, where the defending national champ are favored. The defending national champs are not favored. They're favored to lose by 13.5. And I am betting Indiana minus 13.5. That is one of my bets because I don't think that's enough. I think Indiana is legit. I think Michigan is very bad. I don't think Michigan can score. They have not proven to me that they can run a competent offense all year. Their defense is actually pretty mediocre, which was supposed to be their strength. We keep saying their defense is mediocre, and I keep saying maybe there's room for improvement, and they haven't improved. Yeah, just give me Indiana minus 13.5.
So all we've been talking about from the beginning of the show, how great Indiana is. They've been beating teams. They finally get a chance to really beat Michigan at home. We got a game. Look ahead to Ohio, the big matchup fight next week.
Yep.
They're laying 3rd. Finally, Vegas has caught up to them. You know, before then, all the games, Indiana's been favored by 6, 7, 5. Vegas finally caught up to them this week. Said, okay, we're going to give you a 13.5 point.
And I'm going to
Let me take Michigan at 13.5.
What?
Yes.
Are you
Now-
serious?
I don't know if Michigan can win the game, but man, something about it just tells me that Indiana's due for sort of just kind of a clunker. And this could be the place where Michigan's defense shows up. Now, I don't know if Michigan will win, but man, 13.5 is a lot of points to lay sometimes. So,
Not when you're winning every game by 40.
yeah, but this is the game. Give me Michigan 13.5. I'll take the Wolverines. Go blue.
All right. Yeah, we're going to have to disagree there. But yeah, I don't know. We shall see.
Yeah.
We shall see.
So
Oh,
we
I
go
did
to
also want to throw in there. I do have Ole Miss plus 2.5.
Okay.
Georgia.
Well, we're different on 2 games. Let's go to the kneel down bowl.
The kneel down bowl.
Miami versus Georgia Tech.
Miami, Georgia Tech. Yeah. Where did Mario Cristobal pick up a guide to football strategy in the offseason?
Yes. Well, I think he's
'cause
playing the video game, so I think he's figuring out how to kneel.
Yeah, I think he has because I've watched a lot of Miami and I have not seen any of those stupid boneheaded decisions that he was making all of last year. So honestly, what is the spread in this one? It's
minus
10.5.
10.5.
Yeah, that's what I got.
got.
Give me Miami minus 10.5. I agree. I agree. 100%.
Miami's on a roll. Well, let's just go ahead and pencil in the ACC championship.
Yeah. Pencil that in. 10.5. This 10.5 is entirely dependent on if Cam Ward decides to try at the right moment, because when he does, they score like 30 in 10 minutes. And when he doesn't,
let him get down by 10 or 15, and then let's make it interesting.
Yeah. They'll be down by 15 in the third quarter and still cover. So Georgia Tech's a scrappy team. I'm sure they'll Hayes King, isn't he injured?
Haynes King may not play this game, I've heard.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of
even
what I
worse.
heard. But they're a scrappy team. I like Coach there. I like what they're doing. But no, they're nothing against Miami. And Miami has the 3-headed combo of really good quarterback, really good running back, really good wide receiver. And in Cam Ward, Restrepo, and I forget the running back's name. Martinez, right?
Martinez.
Isn't it Martinez?
Yeah. And Miami is first in the country in points per game. I mean, they are just a machine.
Yeah, number one offense. They are a machine. So, yeah, Miami minus 10.5. I don't really have any takes other than that. Miami is really good in offense, and I don't think Georgia Tech can keep up.
Yep, I agree. So, all right.
All right.
Do you believe?
Do you believe? I do believe.
I believe too. I think this team's gotten better throughout the season. The defense has improved, and I don't believe in Texas Tech really.
No. Yeah. So I have been a Colorado hater pretty much all season.
I know,
but I have to say they've kind of surprised me along the lines of scrimmage. I knew they were going to be good at the quarterback and wide receiver and all that, but I just didn't expect. I expected them to play like they did last year and not be physical, and they really have gotten a lot better on that, especially running the ball. And the beef with Texas Tech is they're Baylor's other rival, and also I just don't think they're that good. They almost lost to Abilene Christian. They've played a cakewalk of a schedule, and I just don't think I don't think they're all that. But
yeah, Colorado's a 3.5 point favorite. Give me Colorado. I think they're on a mission to prove everybody wrong now. I think Colorado could sneak into the Big 12 championship.
I do. There is a scenario though, like Baron Morton is a decent quarterback. Like they could end up going off, but I don't know. I think Colorado wins this one because I think Shador is maybe the third best quarterback in the country. And Travis Hunter is elite. So
yeah. So
I know.
I think Travis Hunter needs to have a really special game here soon if he wants to stay in the Heisman race.
Yeah, he's kind of been mediocre, but like playing both sides, which is still really impressive.
It's impressive, but it's not going to win the Heisman.
You got to be excellent to win the Heisman. And so he needs to have like 3 picks or like 3 touchdowns, I think.
All right. Let's go next to the Letdown Bowl.
The Letdown Bowl?
South Carolina versus Vandy. Because this is South Carolina riding high. It's going to go on the road to Vandy, and they're going to get a little Diego Pavia. And they're going to get smacked in the face and realize, hey, we're not that good when we're not playing on Saturday night with the sandstorm playing and everything going our way coming off a bye. I think
they're going to run straight into Diego Pavia, and who is Paul Atreides, who received a vision from on high of football greatness as a child, he saw himself ascending to the top of the SEC. Yeah, I think Vanderbilt's not only going to cover, I think Vanderbilt's going to win.
I think so too. I mean, even, call me crazy. And I think South Carolina, if you watched that game last week, South Carolina looked like a machine. But I think it was one of those nights where you just knew, you could just feel it in the air, kind of like Phil Collins, man. But I think, it's different going on the road. All of a sudden, you had this really emotional high. Everybody's talking about good you are.
A sleepy Nashville stadium.
Is this a new game, And then I think Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia is just going to make them forget all about that. So, yeah. I think I will take, I think it's Vanderbilt's the underdog. Give me Vandy plus 3.5. I think I like them.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that one. Vanderbilt plus 3.5.
Yeah. The next game I want to talk about was a game I thought was going to be one of the game of the weeks in the preseason.
What's that?
I can't believe it. Florida State, Notre Dame.
Florida State. Yeah.
Notre Dame's a 25.5-point favorite. And you know how much I hate Notre Dame.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. I'm not betting this because I don't know. Florida State's a broken team. I just don't want to bet any game with them in it because I just don't know. But I really think that I think they're dead. I think Florida State is like.
They lost to UNC last week.
Yeah, I know. Like, this is not a crazy take, but like Florida State is like dead. They're not Clemson dead where they like lose a couple of games, but Dabo still has them fighting. Like Florida State's gone. Like they're genuinely in like the danger zone of like half their roster could portal out in the offseason.
Can you imagine when the Florida Gators have been losing, but they've been playing hard. Florida Gators are going to cook this team at the end of the year at this rate.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem. Miami is gonna obliterate them, or they already did.
But yeah. So give me Notre Dame all the points, and I think that's probably not enough points. But I want to get that line before it gets too crazy. So
I mean 25.5 is pretty crazy, but
got any other games?
Talk about the Holy War, BYU, Utah. Sure. Yeah, so BYU at Utah. BYU has been the monkey on their back for a long time. They have kind of been dominated in this rivalry pretty recently. So, I don't know.
What don't you know? Utah has no offense.
I know, but I just have vibes. I have Big 12 vibes from this, which is why I'm picking Utah plus 2.5.
You are
3.5.
Crazy. BYU's not losing this.
And I know this is like, it's going to be a sweat it out. I think it's going to be, first of all, it's at Utah. Rice Eccles Stadium, right? Utah. They're really good at home. The crowd will be rocking. It's the Holy War. They would love nothing more than to ruin BYU's perfect season. It's going to be physical. BYU's played like several close one-score games against much worse teams. Like,
I think Utah is the worst team. What have they done in their last 45 games?
Not a lot.
I mean, they're 105th in scoring. They're terrible.
It's a rivalry game, and it's at home. Like, Utah's physical. I think like this is going to be like 17-10.
Okay,
like
they scored 14, 17,
19,
19, and 10 points their last 4 games. They can't score.
They're not going to need to score. This is going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to be, 15-14 or something crazy with like a pick 6. Like, not a lot. It's going to be a horrible game of football to watch. I'm not going to watch it, but I think Utah will cover the 3.5. Utah.
I'm not betting this, but I'm gonna. BYU will win this easily.
I don't know.
They're much better.
I'm a doubter of BYU. Like, they've just played so many close games. Like, and they might still win this one. They might still pull this out. Like, they might still win by 3, and then Utah covers. So
yeah, we'll see. Fade Jake this week, fellas. Fade Jake.
Yeah, I don't know. Fade Jake might have been a move all season, low key, but
So, My last pick for the week is going to be, I'll take Oregon minus 24.5 against Maryland. Maryland's not terrible, but I just think Oregon's a wagon at this point. They're a machine. They're just there's nothing stopping them getting to the Big Ten championship at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm not picking it just because I think Oregon may just like rest a lot of their players and like be super basic and not show anything, and so they may not cover. But
I was assuming they'd rest them and they'd still cover.
Okay, yeah, I don't know, but
so
I agree that's probably the way to go on that. But
we're starting to get. It's interesting if you look. We're starting to get some teams taking bye weeks. You notice we don't have a full slate. Like some teams are off this week, some teams are off next week. We have, we don't get everybody each week.
Yeah. In the G5 world, Army's playing North Texas, only 5.5-point favorites, and Boise's playing Nevada, 24.5-point favorites. UVA's playing Pitt.
Rest in peace,
Yeah.
UVA.
Yeah, it's at Pitt. Pitt's gonna obliterate them.
Yeah.
Penn State, Washington, that feels like a really sleepy 10-point Penn State win. That's ugly, just to continue their streak of not losing to anybody besides Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah. And the other game we haven't talked about, Florida, Texas is your noon game. Lagway is.
If Lagway's in, they could cover.
He got listed on the injury report today as questionable. I'm not sure they're going to play him because honestly, if I'm Billy Napier, I'm holding him out and keeping him for the home games against LSU, Ole Miss, because I think you got a better shot of winning those games, and just take your loss with Texas. By the way, there's some reports out today from, I think, what I would consider a pretty reliable source that says signs are pointing that Billy Napier's going to come back in 2025 and bringing DJ with him.
Really?
Yeah, because, DJ is going to stay if Billy's staying.
Okay.
So I think that's part of the deal. And the team has shown improvement. The team's playing hard. And I think that's part of the deal. I mean, if now, again, they get blown out 3 weeks in a row, maybe that changes. But I think.
Isn't the recruiting class in the 30s, though?
The recruiting class is rough. Now, again, this is just one report. But this person's saying that's
not recoverable if you're Florida. You can't have a year of 30 recruiting class.
I understand. But, give DJ is so electric. I mean, you get him up and running, he can make plays. I mean, do you not think watching that game against Georgia, if DJ plays, Florida's winning that game?
Yeah, but if,
with
Florida's
less talent.
Still way less talented. However, that's just because Georgia was asleep.
I understand. I'm just telling you, there's a movement afoot that where the scenario where I didn't think could happen is that maybe Napier gets a fourth year because of DJ.
Yeah, and maybe they're just saying that so they can wait till after the playoff to get Lane.
Maybe. I'm just saying, don't be surprised. What we thought was dead in the water, this team has not given up.
Yeah,
and we'll see. But anyway,
I don't know.
I think Texas.
I'm still out on Billy Napier, but I just don't think unless he gives up play calling. I don't think
we'll have enough time to talk about that. We'll have time to talk about job openings later. So. Anyway, that's about it for me, Jake. I think we're about hitting up on the hour here. I don't have anything else really big. There's some other games, but nothing that's really. I mean,
West Virginia, Cincinnati.
Yeah,
that's old Big East rival.
Come on,
old Big.
Really, we're going to talk old Big East rivalry. Seriously, I don't think.
All right, I like.
I don't think Reed or Nacho Man wants to hear that.
No, Reed would absolutely eat that up. Okay. Maxion review. See, Reed's asking for Maxion review. All right, let's look at some Maxion real quick. Okay.
I'm gonna pull up the UVA basketball game on my phone then.
Yeah. So we had Maxion. There's games going on right now.
We start to break down Fresno State Air Force. I'm out of here.
So Ohio's up 20-0 on Kent State. NIU's up 21-14 on Western Michigan. And Miami, Ohio got a crucial win over Ball State on Tuesday, and Bowling Green beat CMU also on Tuesday. So there's our Maxion.
And Reed wants to know the thoughts of the UVA West Virginia announcement. Oh, it's just great to see that UVA is going to play another first kickoff game against another team they'll lose to. I just love to see those UVA
in Charlotte for some dang reason.
Charlotte. Yeah, why can't we just play these games at home? I hate these neutral field sites. There's only one decent neutral field game.
Two.
What are you going to argue? We're going to argue Texas OU is going to be the legit.
Texas OU is the main one, and the other one is Florida Georgia.
No, Florida Georgia should be played on home sites, and I'm going to argue they should just move that. I hate.
No, I like Florida Georgia in Jackson. It's a cool environment. World's largest outdoor cocktail party. I need to go to that, by the way, at some point.
We do. We need to get there, but I'm only going to go when Florida's good. And by the way, it'll only be there for another year, and then they're going to go to Tampa and Atlanta while they're fixing.
We'll probably have to wait till they fix the Jacksonville Stadium after that before.
And then
we'll do that. Yeah.
Then we'll pay $30 for a soft drink or popcorn or whatever to pay for the renovations. So,
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. They're taking home games away so we can play West Virginia. So I'm sure Tony Ed will still be coaching that game because they won't fire him ever. So
yeah, why? I don't. Okay, never mind. That's a whole nother thing. But
all right, we're done. I'm done.
Right, yeah, I'm tired.
All right. Well, listen, college football fans, you need to enjoy these last few weeks in November because this is all we got left. It's a lot of hot air of us talking off season about recruiting rankings, spring practice, and what could realignment look like. And nobody wants to.
Yeah, we're gonna start looking real. It's going to come February, start looking real hard, be like, man, these visits are getting intense.
Yes, exactly. So,
the spring game, man, showed a lot of potential through 4 touchdowns in the spring game.
I'm going to start breaking down spring game film, and we're going to talk about what it looked like on A-Day. So,
goodness, but.
Yeah, so anyway.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. And follow us on all the podcast feeds. Follow on socials on Twitter and Instagram, Real Hopster, and at the Hoppy Huddle on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and good night.
Good night, Allie.